Hello everyone, welcome to this video on increment and decrement operators in C++. These two words might sound overwhelming, but they're actually quite simple to understand. In the last video, we learned how to define variables. We learned how to perform simple mathematical operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division on them, and also how to print or output the answers. In this video, we will again follow the same steps, which are, as you might guess, define variables, perform the suitable or the required operators on them, the operations on them, and then output the answer. In this video, we will learn about two other kinds of operations. These are the increment operator and the decrement operator. So the first kind of operator that we can try to understand is the increment operator. So what do you think is the word increment mean? It means to increase, right? To increase the amount of something or the value of something. Since we are talking this in a programming lecture, we can take an example of increasing the value of a variable, right? For example, how do we define a variable? Int. Let's say that the data type of the variable is int. Then the letter can be anything, A, B, Z, or it can be any word, right? But for simplicity, let's take it as x, all right? And let's say that the value of x is 2, all right? Now I want to increment the value. I want to increase the value, all right? So the operator that we use to increment, like for example, for addition, we use the operator plus, right? In the same way, in order to increment the value of something, we use double plus, all right? So since we want to increment the value of x, we can write x plus plus. But increase the value to how much? Plus plus means it increases the value by 1. So if the value of x is 2, then the resultant value of x will be 2 plus 1, which is 3, right? So we can also say that the value of this 3 will be stored inside the same variable, which is x. So the value of x will be altered. It will not be 2, but it will be 2 plus 1, which is 3. Now, what do we have to do? We have to print the value or get the output. So which keyword do we use to output the value of a variable? If you said cout, then you are correct. Now whose value do we want to print? X, right? And then a semicolon. Now let's execute, compile and run. 3. It's fair enough, right? The value of x was initially 2. After we incremented, it became 3. Now, in order to be satisfied with this answer, I'll try to print the statement before I increment, okay? X, all right? Now I'll erase this one. Now let's compile and see. See, now the value is 2. It's not 3. So we are quite satisfied, right? Now let's say I want to see the value of both. The value before it was incremented and after it was incremented. So now actually if I print them like this, it will print on the same line. For example, if you see here, it's printing 2, 3. It looks like 23, right? So what I can do here is I can put something known as end L. If I use this, then the cursor will move to the next line. So now if I compile and run, see, it's 2 and on the next line 3 is being printed. All right? So this is one tip that you can learn in programming. All right? So I hope you understood the meaning of the word increment. Alright, now let's dive deeper into this same operator, which is increment. Now, let's say that I don't want to write these two plus signs over here, but in front of x, like this. Now, what will the value of x be? Will it be the same or will it be different? Let's check it out. Okay, it's the same. It was just as initial, right? Like so. So does that mean that plus plus x is equal to x plus plus? In this case, even though the values are same, they are actually quite different. This we'll only be able to understand if I introduce here one more variable. All right. Now let's say I have x is equal to 2 and I have another variable y. I'm not going to define any variable, any value for y. Now let's just simply say that I am going to increment the value of x as I did initially, and I'm going to store that value inside y. I think it's quite clear, right? I'm doing nothing. First, don't see this y, just concentrate on this term x plus plus. What do we have here? The value of x is 2, so 2 plus 1 is 3, right? So what do you think the value of y should be if I print it like this? Will it be 3 or something else? Let's find it out. I forgot to put a semicolon. Let's see. Okay, surprisingly, the value of y is 2. Now, why is this the case? When I printed only x here, then the value of x is 3. But as soon as I store the value of x into some other variable, and if I print the value of that, then the answer does not change. Why is it so? This is because I put the increment sign after x. Alright, so if I print here x, my value will be 3 only. In this, only x is incremented, y is not incremented, because this is known as post incrementation. This means the value of x is incremented after the initial value gets stored inside y. Alright, so this means my compiler will first see x and it will store the initial value of x into y, and after it stores, before moving on to the next statement, it just increments the value of x. That's it. Alright, so now what will happen if I put the incrementation operators before x? Now what do you think will happen? Okay, I want you to write the answers in the comments. So if this is the case, then the value of x will be incremented first and then the value will be stored inside y. So now if I print the value of y, what do you think the answer will be? 3. Alright, so this means the value of x is being incremented first and then it is being stored inside y. But if I put the same symbol after x, then the value of the initial value of x will be stored inside y and then x will be incremented. I hope that makes clear, right? So now just to give you an exercise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase everything. Okay, now let's say I have A, comma B, and let's say that b is equal to 5, or let's say this is equal to 7. All right, and now what I'm going to do is a is equal to b plus plus, and I want to print b, and I also want to print a. Now if I print them like this, they will be printed on the same line. So let me remember to put this endel here. Now what will happen? What do you think the answer will be to this question? This answer I want you all to try on your own and write the answer in the comments. All right. Now what we can do is, I want you also to think over this next question also. All right. In this, let's say the value of I is equal to 3 and the value of j is equal to 4. All right. Now what I'm going to do is, I am going to store the value of I plus 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 j plus plus inside I. Now what will the value of I be? Let's see this question carefully. All right. The value of I is 3. The value of j is 4. Is this pre-increment or post-increment? It's post-increment, right? So this means first the value of I is 3. The value of j is 4. So 3 plus 4 is 7. So the value of 7 will be stored inside I. All right. So if I print I over here, then the value of I will be 7. Okay. Now what will happen if I print here j? Remember, this is post increment and this is still increment. All right. So what do you think the value of j will be here? Will it be 4 or 4 plus 1, 5? If you said 5, then you are correct, because it really doesn't matter. It will, of course, increment. Okay, now enough of the increment operators. All right. Now what we can do is, let's talk about decrement operators. You all must have guessed it. It's the same thing as increment operators. It is just instead of increasing the value by 1, we will be decreasing the value by 1. Let's just understand this with a simple example. I'll take I is equal to 10. All right. And now I'm going to say I minus minus. Okay. And now I'm going to print the value of I. Now what will the value of I be? If you said 9, then you are correct. Let's compile and run. 9. Fair enough. Now if I put this in front of I, then what will be the answer? If you said 9, then you are correct again. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to again repeat the similar procedure that we did before, and I'm going to say j is equal to minus minus I. All right. And now I'm going to print the value of j. What will be the answer in this case? If you said 9, then you are correct. All right. And now what will happen if I put this symbol after I? I want you to tell me the answer. Just think about the answer. If you said 10, then you are correct. All right. So what will happen if I print here I again? Let me say, so I'm going to put here endl and j. So what will be the value of I and j? The value of I will be 9 and the value of j will be 10. Let's see it. 9 and 10. Okay. So now is the question. Why do we need to actually learn about increment and decrement operators when they are just the fancy terms to explain addition and subtraction? This is because it's relatively easier, right? Instead of writing, for example, uh, I is equal to I plus 1, if I just simply write I plus plus, this is relatively simpler to write, right? Then why do we need to use this? Actually, when we learn about complicated problems and complicated topics, for example, functions, loops, iterators, there we will come to know about the actual use of all these things. So these might seem to be quite trivial, but these are really useful when we make complicated programs in the future. So as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, do press the like button. You may share it with your friends too. And if you want to watch more videos like this, then do subscribe. So I'll see you in the next video.